interesting when we think of AI as a deterrent strategy, because if each side had very strong AI, it might be a strong measure of deterrence. The problem is that both sides would have to be equal. If it might be a strong deterrence for the United States because our nation is ahead of the game in AI, that would discourage adversaries from attacking us because our military capabilities are already pretty advanced, but add AI to it and it makes it even stronger. But I think if we had two comparable adversaries, they'd have to have comparable AI systems for AI to be a good deterrent. I don't think I'd summarize it that way. I think the Trump Doctrine is an approach to both foreign and domestic policy that puts the interests of the American people first and ahead of the elites and globalists. And for example, the elites and globalists want to get the US involved in treaties that, well, they like because they're elitist, but are not in the interests of American workers. I'm particularly thinking of the Paris Climate Accord, which conservatives in the US hate because it will hurt American industry and give a pass to China and India while they continue to pollute the planet. This was something the elitists liked, but it wasn't in the interest of the average American. And that's one reason why this agreement was never put to a vote in Congress. And I think when it comes to trade deals, sending troops to war, Trump's approach to domestic and foreign policy is to make sure that the interests of the American citizen is the first thing is considered before any decisions are taken. Peace or strength is certainly part of this, but I think the primacy of the interests and safety and welfare of the American people is the primary purpose of America First.
Yeah.
I think it's very significant because it means that American leaders, and I think leaders in Japan, are turning against conventional wisdom, the way things were always done. We're rejecting the thought of intellectual powerhouses like Harvard University and Columbia University and the Ford Foundation and taking a different way. We're basically rejecting those who we thought were the wise men, the wise women, and trying another course because what had been recommended in the past wasn't working. So I think it's a revolution. It is rejecting conventional wisdom, the way things were always done. I think Trump has done that successfully in our country, and I think this is coming to Japan.
Yeah. One more.
Well, I think there should be a Japan first movement, a movement that first considers the interests of the people of Japan when Japanese officials make domestic decisions or foreign policy decisions, instead of deferring to the elitists who have things in mind that may sound good on paper, but hurt the average Japanese. I think that, and I know there are Japan first people in Japan. I met with them. I think I met with them with you. And look, this is nationalism. There's no doubt about that. But it's not extreme nationalism. And nationalism is not bad. When you're thinking, when a decision is made, we first make sure our people are taken care of. Then we make decisions for others. That's the way most nations operate. And I don't think there's any harm in that. There has to be a way of balancing making decisions that concern other countries, making decisions in accord with some intellectual premise that's being put forward by the major universities, the major newspapers. But I think I'd rather be guided by a strong, if I was a Japanese, a strong Japan first strategy for national domestic policy, rather than what I hear in NHK.
Yeah.
Both nations need each other. Why Japan is a leader in the Asia Pacific. Why basically America would be lost without Japanese leadership, the role it plays in promoting security, That's something I like talking about. It's why I like traveling to Japan. It's why I like talking to Japanese audiences. America needs this relationship desperately. Japan is one of our closest friends, and it's always been strong under President Trump's presidency, and I knew it was strong under Prime Minister Abe, who Donald Trump loved, and I now see we're going to have maybe an even stronger relationship under the new Prime Minister.
Yeah.
I don't have a good answer for you on that. I'm pleased that my organization is improving its relationship with Japanese think tanks, but our foreign policy operation is very small, and we're really still at the beginning of it. But I've been enjoying my relationship with you and with some of your allies. I'm in touch with other groups in Japan. We need to do better to collaborate together, because I think both nations have approaches to foreign and domestic policies that we could learn from the other on. And we have to shore up this crucial friendship and strategic relationship. I think we're making a lot of progress on that, but I'll admit that I think AFPI has to do more.
Okay. What do you believe is this
to discuss several times in the past. I know that when American politicians come to Japan, the Japanese government introduces them to liberal and middle think tanks, not to the conservative think tanks. That happens here. When Japanese officials come over, they're introduced to the Brookings Foundation. Wonderful group of people. They're all liberals. They don't like President Trump. And I think that Japanese conservative organizations have to do their best to make sure that the Japanese government treats them fairly, that they have an opportunity to speak to visiting American politicians, that they participate in forums on economics and foreign policy as equals. Because frankly, if you don't do that, the elite institutions that are tied to liberal think tanks, they'll take all the slots. They'll suck all the oxygen out of the room, and the Japanese organization will be left out in the cold. That happens here all the time. As conservatives, we have to fight extra hard to get our place at the table. And I'm sure your organization is doing that, and I would urge your fellow conservative organizations to do the same.
Thank you.
Well, I'm simply going to sort of demur on that question, because the U.S. has a strategy of strategic ambiguity and does not say how it will respond if China attacks Taiwan. And because I'm seen as speaking for President Trump, and I'm not, but I'm seen that way, I don't want to get him in trouble by commenting on how the U.S. would respond to a Chinese attack on Taiwan. I'll simply tell you, I don't think such an attack is imminent, but I do believe that the Chinese government is planning one.
Yeah.
Well, I think we have to collaborate against the globalists, against the elitists who are pushing agendas that are hurting our economies, that are undermining our societies, that are undermining family and tradition, and work together to realize that these groups, whether they're liberal think tanks, whether it's CNN, whether it's the New York Times, we have to counter their narrative that wants to silence us. It concerns me that when I travel in other countries, including in Japan, people in Japan don't know a lot about conservative viewpoints, because they watch CNN and NHK, they read the New York Times and The Economist. They get a very biased view of American politics. And that's true in our country too, about Japanese politics. So we have to fight to get the message out, to get the conservative truth out, to get around the liberal elite, the liberal journalists, so the people can hear the truth. And I think that American and Japanese conservative organizations, I think we can be successful in doing that.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you very much for taking the time to grant us this interview despite your busy schedule. We would also like to invite you to Japan. So we look forward to your cooperation when that time comes. Yeah.
I look forward to it. It's been such a pleasure working with you, Yuya, and your work is so impressive. I've seen other books that you've co-authored with famous people on your Amazon page. So I'm honored to have also co-authored a book with you with my colleague Steve Yates. My new book, North Korea Nuclear Brinksmanship and the Oval Office, will be published on April 7th. And I'll be sending you a copy, and I would love to get your thoughts on it. It talks about how North Korea has about 50 nuclear weapons right now, because the U.S. government handled this threat so badly. And maybe if we handle Iran better, we'll prevent that from happening.
Last,
well, the North Korea issue is much harder for Trump's second term because North Korea is so much closer to Russia and is getting economic and energy support and weapons and support for their satellite program from the Russians. It's going to make it much harder. And also, the North Koreans really dug in on their nuclear program and their hostility towards South Korea during the Biden administration, which I blame on Biden's weak leadership. I think we both know that weak, incompetent presidents are bad for global security. Biden was a terrible president. I think he did enormous damage to global security. North Korea is just one of many examples of that. My hope is that Trump can somehow stop the war in Ukraine. That may weaken the relationship between Russia and North Korea, and hopefully open a window for the U.S. to resume negotiations with North Korea. We still may be able to meet with the North, but I think that these talks will be much more productive if the North Korea-Russia relationship can be weakened or broken.
Oh, okay. So, this is finished. So, I appreciate you to this interview.
Okay, my pleasure. I look forward to seeing you soon. I look forward to seeing the YouTube video.
日本には近代政党が必要だ。自分の政策与奪の権を政治家に任せていってはいけない。ましてや官僚をシンクタンクにしている政治家に任せたら何をされるかわからない。
規制が増えたり税が増えたりすると政府の力ってのはどんどん強くなっていくんで、そうすると自分たちの意思とは関係ない政治とか社会の意思決定がなされていく。
それが環境に役立つのか役に立たないのかという人は大勢いたんですが、そもそも手続きとしておかしい。民主国家というのはこれ基本的に手続きの世界なんですよね。
目的は一つで、日本が地球上で文明国として生き残るため。